Why electric vehicles should be prioritized. Climate change has been worsening in the recent decades. It poses a critical challenge to humanity's sustainability. Climate change is caused by emission of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. To address the issue of climate change, also referred to as global warming, there is a need for control of emission of greenhouse gases. A primary cause of air pollution is transport-related emissions. Fossil fuel cars emit a significant carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This has contributed to global warming. To mitigate emissions of greenhouse gases, there is a need for transitioning from fossil-fueled cars to powertrains like electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are a revolutionary transport system that operates on a power battery. This makes it a superior alternative for environmental conservation and should be prioritized to mitigate climate and address adverse health outcomes as a result of environmental pollution.
The promises of electric vehicles seem endless. Using electricity generated by wind, sun, or water, they could potentially remove personal transportation from the global warming equation. And without big internal combustion engines and transmissions, electric cars can be designed around people and their cargo rather than around machinery. Plus, their batteries have the power to handle all that self-driving technology we keep hearing about. So they promise to be safer too.
Electric vehicles should be prioritized because they will reduce greenhouse gas emission. The greenhouse gas is made up of carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, ozone among others. Jung et al. Points out that, in 2019, transportation caused 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the United States of America, and 18% in Europe, but only 9% in India and 7% in China. Over the past decades, however, the transport sector has failed to reduce its carbon footprint. 1. These findings point out the degree of greenhouse gas emissions caused by fossil fuel. Prioritizing and adopting electric vehicles will cut greenhouse gas emissions by about 30% in the United States and about 18% in Europe. A lot of greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change will be mitigated through adoption of electric vehicles. Also, decarbonizing the transport sector will play a huge role in addressing multiple public health issues.
A new report from the World Health Organization says that 7 million people die annually from exposure to polluted air. The organization says 9 out of 10 people everywhere are exposed to dangerous pollutants. The WHO says that 34% of all pollution-related deaths are due to heart disease and 20% are from stroke. The rest consist of various lung-related conditions including pneumonia, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and lung cancer. Around 3.6 million deaths are connected to exposure from indoor air pollutants such as fumes from cooking fires and stoves. The WHO says outdoor air pollution in cities and rural settings is caused by industry and energy supply, transportation, waste management, dust, farming practices, and household energy.
According to a report by the United Nations Environment Programme, air pollution contributes to 6.7 million premature deaths annually, mostly in low and middle-income countries, while noise pollution adversely impacts the well-being and quality of life of urban residents. These estimates denote the adverse public health crisis associated with environmental pollution, especially in the transport sector. It explains why there is urgency in redesigning the transport system so that it is made safer, cleaner, and more inclusive. Therefore, prioritizing electric vehicles over carbon fuels will represent a critical step, not only for climate action but also for protecting public health and overall human life. Although opponents of electric vehicles may argue that these vehicles indirectly cause environmental pollution, they fail to consider the long-term benefits associated with a wider adoption of electric vehicles. For instance, the opponents point out that the production of electric cars leads to massive environmental pollution because of the energy needed to produce batteries. According to a study by Lomborg, making batteries for electric cars also requires a massive amount of energy, mostly from burning coal in China. Electric cars emit a little less than half as much carbon dioxide as a gasoline-powered one. It is evident that in the short run, production of electric vehicles can lead to significant environmental pollution. However, the long-run sustainability of electric vehicles is much more beneficial than the use of fossil fuel cars. In general, electric vehicles are crucial for limiting greenhouse gas emissions, thereby mitigating climate change and other adverse healthcare effects. Greenhouse gas emitted by fossil fuel cars accounts for more than 30% of total greenhouse gas emission in the United States. Prioritizing electric vehicles provides a better alternative since it will help to limit greenhouse gas emissions. In efforts to reduce pollution, mitigate climate change and promote a cleaner environment for public health good, electric vehicles should be prioritized in the transport sector.